World War II was a global war that took place from 1939 to 1945. It involved 100 million people from over 30 countries. World War II was the deadliest conflict in human history, marked by 70 to 85 million fatalities, most of whom were civilians in the Soviet Union and China. Tens of millions of people died due to genocides, including the Holocaust, premeditated death from starvation, massacres, and disease. To this date, it remains the deadliest conflict in human history. Origin of World War II. The causes of World War II are many and varied, but in the end, it all boils down to the aggressive and expansionist policies of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party. Plus, the harsh Treaty of Versailles years before only laid the foundation of future conflicts. Then events such as the Spanish Civil War and the Japanese invasion of China only served to highlight the ineffectiveness of the League of Nations that had been created following the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Both the conflicts saw the involvement of these future Axis powers, and it showed that they could carry out their imperialistic whims with no consequences to be faced from other nations. As a result, the conflict became inevitable. The majority of the world's countries, including all the great powers, eventually formed two opposing military alliances, the Allies and the Axis. Japan, which aimed to dominate Asia and Pacific, was at war with China by 1937. World War II began on the 1st of September 1939, with the invasion of Poland by the German, and subsequent declarations of war on Germany by France and the United Kingdom. From late 1939 to early 1941, in a series of campaigns and treaties, Germany conquered or controlled much of continental Europe, and formed the Axis alliance with Italy and Japan. Under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact of August 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union partitioned and annexed territories of their European neighbors, Poland, Finland, Romania, and the Baltic states between them. Following the onset of campaign in North Africa and East Africa, and the fall of France in mid-1940, the war continued primarily between the European Axis powers and the British Empire. War in the Balkans, the aerial Battle of Britain, the Blitz, and the Long Battle of the Atlantic followed. On the 22nd of June 1941, the European Axis powers launched an invasion of the Soviet Union, opening the largest land theater of war in history. This Eastern Front trapped the Axis, most crucially the German Wehrmacht, in a battle of attrition. In December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States as well as European colonies in the Pacific. The US immediately declared war against Japan, supported by one from Great Britain. The European Axis powers quickly declared war on the US in solidarity with their Japanese ally. Rapid Japanese conquests over much of the Western Pacific. The Axis advance in the Pacific halted in 1942 when Japan lost the critical Battle of Midway. Later, Germany and Italy were defeated in North Africa, and then decisively at Stalingrad in the Soviet Union. Key setbacks in 1943, which included a series of German defeats on the Eastern Front, the Allied invasions of Sicily and Italy, and Allied victories in the Pacific, cost the Axis its initiative and forced it into strategic retreat on all fronts. In 1944, the Western Allies invaded German-occupied France, while the Soviet Union regained its territorial losses and turned toward Germany and its allies. During 1944 and 1945, the Japanese suffered major reverses in mainland Asia, in central China, South China, and Burma, while the Allies crippled the Japanese Navy and captured key Western Pacific islands. The war in Europe concluded with an invasion of Germany by the Western Allies, and the Soviet Union, culminating in the capture of Berlin by Soviet troops, the suicide of Adolf Hitler, and the German unconditional surrender on the 8th of May 1945. Following the Potsdam Declaration by the Allies on the 26th of July 1945 and the refusal of Japan to surrender under its terms, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on 6 and 9 August respectively. With an invasion of the Japanese archipelago imminent, the possibility of additional atomic bombings, the Soviet entry into the war against Japan, and its invasion of Manchuria, Japan announced its intention to surrender on the 15th of August 1945, cementing total victory in Asia for the Allies. Tribunals were set up by the Allies, and war crimes trials were conducted in the wake of the war both against the Germans and against the Japanese. World War II changed the political alignment and social structure of the world. The United Nations (UN) was established to foster international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. The Soviet Union and the United States emerged as rival superpowers, setting the stage for the nearly half-century-long Cold War.